We've been talking a lot about credit scores and why they mean so much, but what if yours is less than what you want? How can you recover from a bad credit score? Joining me now with some answers, we have Tony Wells with Town & Country Credit Union. Welcome to the show again.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, okay, if you've had a bankruptcy in the past and you go over your credit report to make sure that everything is, cleared off, how do we do that?
So basically, especially with COVID and everything and the economy, it could be a medical thing, it could be a job thing,
right.
But from time to time it happens. And, I think the best is being a financial counselor too and helping people as well as doing loans is just to move forward. Mm-hmm. There's nothing you can do about that but learn from it. So.
Good point.
Yep. I would get a copy of the credit report. If you had a bankruptcy, those things should show that they were cleared in the bankruptcy. But sometimes there's one or two things that for whatever reason weren't caught up, and those things will linger out there. So you just want to follow up, get them the necessary paperwork, talk to your lawyer that filed the bankruptcy, and follow up. And first make sure you're at kind of ground zero,
right,
where everything's cleared off.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. And not to be ashamed of the situation, I love that you said move forward,
yes,
learn from it, and people are going to be there to help you more or less, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Life happens sometimes, and I think the big stigmatism is I've had people not even try to get credit for 5 or 10 years just because they don't want to deal with it anymore, and I think that's the wrong approach. I think you got to go in and you got to sit down and kind of start over, but do it the right way.
Yeah. So what about the time that it takes before you can get a loan then?
It'll vary on different places.
Okay.
Usually 12 to 24 months, sometimes on a mortgage 2 to 3 years. It just depends on what kind of mortgage too. For like car loans and stuff, basically as a lender we want to see some reestablished credit, and we'll talk about that and some of the moves to get that going. And to restart your credit. And this also works if you have no credit, if you haven't had credit in 10 years, then you're kind of a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's important to keep that credit. And that's interesting. We've talked about this so many times.
Yes.
With you on the show, and I love how you go into the schools and you talk with the kids about it and getting the credit cards and whatever. Because there's kind of sometimes there's that negative side. It's like, oh, you don't want to get too many.
True.
All of that kind of stuff too. So, but that credit is just so important to have and to continue to have. So even in this sort of situation. So,
right.
Okay. So first of all, what's the first thing you talked a little bit about? A secured credit card. What is that?
Right. So maybe it's 6 or 12 months and you don't have any dings on your credit, but it's kind of a catch-22. How do I get credit? Well, I can't get credit until we reestablish it. Well, how do I reestablish credit if I can't get it?
Yeah, exactly.
So, hey, where do I go? So a secured credit card is basically, you would give $500 in a savings account. The bank or credit union would just hold that money and issue your credit card with the $500 limit. And then that protects the bank or the credit union. So if there were to be some situations, they have that money to offset that. So a lot of times you get that secured credit card first. And like I said, just if you're a teenager or college kid or you're just trying to rebuild that credit, put a small charge on, pay it off, because you want to see those on-time payments and you want to see low balance. Now that also works, you can do a secured installment loan, which is very similar. Say you have $1,000 in the savings account, we just put a hold on that and we give you a loan for $1,000. And then you just pay it back, but that way you're going to have the revolving, like the credit card, we pay it off, use it again, and an installment loan, which is 12 payments, $100, and I'm done. But that'll help having that blend where we've talked about credit scores time and time again about having a blend of revolving debt and installment loans. So typically you can get those a lot quicker than you can anything else. And then after 12 months or 24 months, the lender's going to see, hey, they've reestablished credit, they made on-time payments, and you kind of get back in the ball game.
Okay, okay. So very important. I think it's something that people don't think about, even if they don't have bankruptcy. Just kind of having some of these things maybe help them along. I just think of kids. I have 3, young adults, and just helping them kind of come up with good ways of keeping track of their money. And I mean, can they do that even if they haven't hit a bankruptcy?
Yeah, if you have no credit and you're having problems getting credit, absolutely.
Okay.
A lot of times when you're younger, if you're a college kid, you can probably still get a credit card unsecured just because you don't have anything negative before. But like we've talked about, you know, we don't make the rules, we just play by them.
Yeah.
You got to build that credit score so when you do need a car, you're not paying 8%, you're getting the good rate.
Right.
Because you have that credit history. But if you go in with nothing, it's going to be a lot harder. Yeah. So setting the groundwork young, like we've always talked about, and that's why, again, you mentioned I love going to high schools and talking to kids and don't do what I did in college.
I know, I wish I had you like that. So
I wish I could talk to my 19-year-old self.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tony, always great tips. Thank you so very much for coming in and being with us again.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Coming up on today's show, how one church in West Fargo is making pop-up charity permanent.